How's it going, everyone? King Blacktooth here. Welcome to this video where I will be analysing the Northern Realms cards. So I feel like I'm a little behind on Northern Realms and monsters. Someone in my operator video, I mentioned that Skellige doesn't have any medics yet, unless maybe they choose the Bloody Baron, but it was pointed out that now he is a Northern Realms card, so there you go. Feel a little old now, thinking about old Gwent. So let's get into Northern Realms and see what we can do. So first off, I'm going to run through briefly some of the leader cards. I did go over them in the leader cards section, but it's good to refresh what they are so that when any cards come up that could relate to them, we at least can refer back. So Foltest, he's remained relatively unchanged all throughout his life. Choose a bronze unit on your side of the battlefield and create and play a copy of it. So it's a bronze unit only, and that was a bug that it could do silvers in Kill the Server. So let's go through it briefly, just what some of the bronze units you could choose. So the first one would be Field Medic. You get 3 strength and you get a random medic out of your graveyard, which could be a silver card, so reasonable. You could choose Poor Infantry, which is again 6 strength split up into 3, providing it activates its ability. It no longer duplicates itself twice, so you only get this card and the 1 extra now, providing it activates. Now I think it was a bug that it didn't activate in the Kill the Server. It's not as useful as it used to be, but again, if you're going to promote loads of them, then it still might work quite nicely. You've got the Reaver Scout. Now, I actually think the Reaver Scout is probably one of the best targets for Foltest. Most of the time, not always. So he's 3 strength, choose a bronze unit on your side of the battlefield, and play a copy of it from your deck. So the reason why this is such a good target is because it's pretty much just one of those chain units. So like the chain medics, for example. But so say if I wanted to Foltest this medic, now providing I've still got a medic in my deck somewhere, I could just Foltest the Reaver Scout, which gets me an extra 3 strength body on the board, and then use him to choose the medic from my deck. Okay, so it's just like a chain in effect. I use the Reaver Scout to pull the medic from my deck rather than actually copying the medic. Obviously, if you don't have another medic in your deck because they're all in your hand or already been played, then it's not going to work. But yeah, so this allows you to get another body on the board for 3 strength and then go into whatever ender you want, which is really, really nice. Now you can even exaggerate that a lot, and it seems to be correct that I could chain medic all my Reaver Scouts with 1 Foltest. If I have a Reaver Scout on the board and a medic, for example, I could Foltest 1 Reaver Scout, and that'll create a 4th one, okay, because the other 2 are still in my deck. So it'll create a 4th one. And then I use that ability to target the first one to pull the second one out of my deck. And then I use that ability to target the first one to pull the third one out of my deck. And I use that ability to target the Field Medic, finally giving me another Field Medic and another resurrected card from the graveyard at random. So by using Foltest on a Reaver Scout and then chaining them, you could effectively get, what is that, an extra 4 bodies on the board, an extra 3 Reaver Scouts, and 1 whatever your ender is, like Field Medic, for example. So you had extra 4 bodies on the board with their respective strengths. If you choose Medic, that's 5. So, you know, a really strong combo there, and it's all because this card allows you to pick and choose a bronze card from on the battlefield and play another copy, which is really good. So there are some instances where the Reaver Scout is not a good one to choose when going on to ender cards. So an example of that is the Reaver Hunter. Now, you don't want to Reaver Scout the Reaver Hunter, because the Reaver Scout is what you're copying. You actually duplicate the card, and then you're pulling a Reaver Hunter from your deck. Reaver Hunters are 4 strength. Add 1 strength to all of the copies of this unit, wherever they are. After 2 turns, play a copy of this unit from your deck. So you don't want to pull one of these out of your deck using the Reaver Scout, because they're going to come out of the deck anyway, and you know, you're just kind of speeding up the process, so it's not a great thing. Whereas Foltesting this card specifically would be a lot better, because then you get a 4th duplicate, which adds +1 strength to all of the copies, which means they're all going to get really high in strength. And it just pulls them out of your deck a little bit faster, because now you've got 2 countdown timers. So this card will benefit from a direct Foltest and will not benefit from a Reaver Scout chained Foltest. The next card is the Blue Stripes Commando, and this kind of can benefit from direct Foltest, but it can also benefit from a Reaver Scout Foltest. So it gives you the choice, and the choice is basically how many have you got access to at the present time. It's 5 strength, and what it does is add 2 strength to all of the copies of this unit wherever they are. So this benefits from a direct fold test if you've got a lot of them in your hand, so you haven't got any left in your deck, so Reaver Scout won't do anything. You've also got Vest to try and pull Blue Stripes Commandos out of your deck anyway, so it's not unlikely that you'll get quite a few of these in your hand. But obviously, if you've only got 1 in your hand and you want more, then the Reaver Scout will do that job for you, and it'll also get you an extra body on the floor. So the Reaver Scout or Fold Test, they're kind of very similar. They go together really well, and you have to make the choice on whether you want an actual copy, because things get extra strength. Because having 3 of these means they're all going to go up to, I think, 11 strength, whereas having an extra copy from Fold Test directly means they're all going to go up a little bit higher. Whereas the Reaver Scout won't allow that because it won't actually create a new one. And then finally you've got the bronze cards, which are always just decent, 8 strength, and that's it, which is okay. But I think a lot of people are expecting Fold Test to do just something a little bit more. Now there are a lot of bronze cards I haven't mentioned. We'll go over those soon, but I just thought I'd bring up a small selection. It has taken me 8 minutes to do this, so that was just a brief thing on Fold Test. Let's try and speed things up. So our second leader card for Northern Realms is Henselt. Choose a row on your side of the battlefield and convert all units on it to gold. So obviously works with a very promotion style heavy deck. What's decent is they don't need to be all copies of the same card. They can be a variety of cards, and will work really well if you decide to build a very one lane focused deck. So all on the melee row, this guy's going to do great. The struggle is knowing when to use it and how many cards to put down before your opponent, you know, negates them in some way with a weather or with a -2 or something like that. Now we know, at least for now, that the Northern Realms deck ability is that any card which is a golden one gets +2 strength. And we know we've got Dijkstra, who removes gold status from everything on the board and gains +1 strength for each of them. Now it is worth noting that it was confirmed by the developer that when a card goes into gold status for Northern Realms and gets the +2 strength buff, when Dijkstra removes the gold status, it doesn't lose the +2. So you can promote it, unpromote it, and promote it again, and you'll get +2 and another +2, which isn't massive, but I mean, you know, it's useful and can be decent. So, you know, and interestingly, the card will see if you've got any golden cards, things that get buffed when golden cards are played and stuff like that. That's probably the hope for this type of deck. So our third leader card for Northern Realms is Rad Avid. A lot of people are saying he's a little bit boring and maybe not too useful. His ability is to choose any card on the battlefield and remove 10 strength from it. So it can target gold cards as well, which is quite useful. So I'm going to throw some comparisons at you, and I'll let you decide just how good he could be. So effectively, most of the time it's going to be used either to destroy one card completely, or if it's got a bit more strength than 10, then it will just remove 10 strength. It's not really ever going to get rid of an ability apart from maybe Resilient, okay, or to trigger a Death Wish, but I think there's better ways to do that than wasting this, because most of the time Death Wishes are quite low in strength. So there's not many passive abilities anymore, so things like Encourage, that's not passive, it's a one-time use. Commander's Horns are one-time use things, so he's got no real incentive to go after anything other than just resilient cards. You know, Zoltan, he will be able to remove him, and he's a big pain in the backside, so he'll be a good counter to Zoltan resilient card. But apart from that, he's probably just going to be used to remove 10 strength, and that's pretty much it. If you get an optimal play, say you're going against something like Geralt, who used to be 15 but is now only 12, if you target him with the leader card, you're just removing 10 strength, which is, you know, it's basic, to be honest. Now the choice is good for resilient, but other than that, now Geralt being lowered to 12 makes me think that Eredin, the monster leader card, will probably also be 12, because he used to be 15 as well. So by Eredin being 12 strength golden, it kind of brings him in line a little bit more with what Rad Avid can do with 10 strength himself. So another comparison is the Swallow Potion, which is a special bronze card, so you can have 3 of these in your deck. Choose a non-gold unit on the battlefield and add 10 strength to it. So it is only non-golds, and Rad Avid can target golds, but to be honest, with Rad Avid, The only gold that really worthy of targeting are resilient ones. Anything else is just basically going to be 10 strength lost. And if they can easily get it back with a swallow potion, it makes Rad Avid not so great. I can't really think of any other cards that you'd really want to get rid of apart from maybe Odrin on the opponent's side or the whale on your side. But they're like 5 strength or 2 to 4. So I feel like wasting this 10 strength thing on a whale is probably a bad play. You know, it's a desperate play. And the swallow potion can get the 10 strength back easily. So that's where Rad Avid kind of sits at the minute. So next we've got ourselves a Northern Realms only silver special card, Reinforcement. It's quite a strong one. Choose a bronze unit on your side of the battlefield and play all copies of it from your deck. So we had a brief preview of some of the bronze cards you can choose, and you know, this card basically just means that if you get this card in your opening hand, you don't need duplicates of any cards anymore. Okay, you may have a choice of what you want to pick out. You may need duplicates of the other things, but it really just gives you the option to pull every card of the same type out of your deck. So instead of playing 3 cards, you only play the 2. Okay, so things like the Field Medic, if you've got 1 on the board, you can pull the other 2 and get 2 extra medic abilities for free. Same thing with the Pt.1 Siege support. So if you've got 1 on the board, you could reinforcement it and you'll get the other 2, and that'll give you another 12 strength to put onto non-gold units. And there's loads and loads of types of cards which reinforcement works really well on. For infantry, so you place 1 down and then, you know, you get the other 2 come out when you reinforcement it. So you'll have, 2, 4, 6 on the board with 3 strength each. Really good for promotion. So reinforcement is just a really strong card, and there's plenty of bronze cards coming up where reinforcement is going to be amazingly good. I'll try and remember to mention it, but just keep it in mind. This card is going to be really, really good for Northern Realms, and making sure that you get certain cards that you want. Things like the Blue Stripes Commandos come to mind because they don't muster, so this is like a way to muster any of them, which is really cool. So another card which really surprised me going into Northern Realms only was Dandelion, a 1 strength silver card for Northern Realms only and goes on the melee row. So for the most longest time ever, he's been neutral, and so it really surprises me. Create and play a Commander's Horn card. So effectively, he is basically just a Commander's Horn card, but he gives the body on the board. So if you're using Pt.1 Siege support, at least he'll get buffed, you know, and things like that. He also might Commander's Horn himself, so he goes to 2 strength, which is, you know, a little bit at least. So for the most part, this card just allows you to play 2 Commander's Horns, because Commander's Horn card itself, the special card, is a silver card as well. So Northern Realms get the option of playing 2 Commander's Horns, which can be good. But there are some cards which Dandelion and Commander's Horns works really well on. So one of these would be the Dun Banner Heavy Cavalry. 4 strength bronze card for Northern Realms only that goes on the siege row, has a 2-turn timer. After 2 turns, convert this unit to gold. So during the Kill the Server stress test, a lot of people were using this but never buffing them. And I think it's because it's scary. So the idea is that you place it down and then you've got 2 turns. You can place 2 cards between when you place it down and it converts to gold. So you place it down, opponent gets a turn, you get a turn, opponent gets a turn, you get a turn, then it converts to gold. So you use those 2 turns to, you know, maybe give it +3 strength using this card, or you Dandelion it to double its strength, etc. And then it converts to gold and seals that strength. But not many people were doing that, I think, because it is a worry. At 4 strength, upgrades to 6 because of the Northern Realms deck ability when it goes to gold. A lot of people just left it alone. It's not that big of a deal. But if you did buff it in some way, people would be more inclined to deal with it, you know? And it kind of makes them deal with it because they know it's going to go to gold. Now, for instance, the Pt.1 Siege support, that's probably a decent one to buff it with because it's 3 strength and it kind of puts it on the verge. Oh, should I deal with it? Should I scorch it? What should I do, you know? And to be honest, 3 strength from that versus a scorch or versus a wounding, I think is a pretty good trade, to be honest. Dandelion might be a bit more dangerous because you might waste its whole effect on maybe one of these and then it just gets removed. And so you've got to be worried about that. So this is a card which might be a prime target for reinforcement. You place 1 down and then you reinforcement it using the first turn that you've got. And the other 2 come out. And maybe use the second turn to buff some of them with the Pt.1 siege support, or maybe Dandelion if you think the opponent doesn't have a Scorch, or a way to deal with them quickly. You know, and then this one will turn to gold, and the other two will get one more turn to get buffed, and then they'll turn to gold. So, you know, reinforcement could work to really pressure your opponent into dealing with them, or getting a quick buff off before they turn to gold. Could work. And next card is Priscilla, which is a 1 strength silver card for Northern Realms only, and goes on the siege row as well. Play 2 random cards from your deck. So this is pure RNG. It's based on your own deck, but it does have a bit of a smell of operator. You could pull out Geralt. You could pull out, you know, some other really seriously good gold cards like Shani, for example, Triss. So it's got a bit of a old operator feel to it, and I feel like it will change. It might change to play 2 random non-golds or something, because I think it's too drastic and has no real skill involved in it, in my opinion. So they'll probably change it, but we'll see. Okay, so I have talked about this quite a bit. Pt.1 is siege support, 2 strength bronze, has the agile ability so it can buff anyone, and choose 2 non-gold units on your side of the battlefield and add 3 strength to them. So this card is basically worth 8, and yeah, it's going to be pretty good to buff things like the Dunbanner heavy cavalry, you know, quickly, because then it'll buff that guy to 7, and it kind of puts him into the range where when it goes to gold it'd be 9, and 9 is a reasonably nice amount of strength, so it's not too hard to do. You place 1 Dunbanner, you place the second one perhaps, and then you place the Pt.1 siege support and buff both of them, or you may want to stagger it, you know, a little bit, but Pt.1 siege support will be pretty useful, and obviously reinforcement works really well, because then you'll get an extra 12 strength to put on units, which would be really, really nice. Field Medic, again, this is a one we've discussed before, but definitely a good card. 3 strength bronze, goes on the melee row. Play a random non-gold unit from your graveyard. So, whereas the Priestess of Freya, you could choose your target, it could only choose bronzes, whereas this can choose silvers as well, but you don't get a choice. And I think that's the payoff. It's also got a bit higher strength. So I really like that, to be honest. It's skill based. You could, if something of yours gets scorched or wounded and destroyed early on, you can, you know, use a field medic to get it out quickly. Later on, you can reinforce it to get another 2 medics from your deck if you didn't get them in your hand straight away. And you get another 2 free medics for free, which is really cool. So, decent card in my opinion. So we've got Naneki, which is a 3 strength silver card for Northern Realms and goes on the siege row. Choose a non-gold unit in your graveyard and play it. So she is effectively got a nerf from 6 strengths now. She is the same strength as the field medics we just saw. So effectively you are just paying a silver slot for the option to choose one particular card. So I always did like her, but I think most of her power during the Kill the Stress Test server was, I always say that wrong, was the fact that you could fall test her. You can no longer do that. 6 strength was really, really nice as well. So I'm not sure whether she's actually that great now. Silver slot just for the ability to choose, which is generally consistent between all decks really, apart from the Priestess of Freya, but they're limited to bronze. So, you know, I mean, you might consider taking her. The field medics could pull her out, and then you get to choose, because they can pull out bronzes. So she might be one that you want to play earlier, so the field medics get a chance to pull her out later. So she's okay, but yeah, I mean, you're just paying for the ability to choose.